Welcome back to HeartTouch Stories. Here's a thought for you. What kind of legacy do we leave behind? Some people leave behind wealth. Others leave behind buildings, achievements, or fame. But today's story is about a woman who left behind something far more powerful, not for herself, but for generations she would never even meet. This is the story of the woman who planted 1,000 trees. In a quiet, dusty village surrounded by barren hills lived a woman named Amina. Life was harsh there, scorching summers, dry winds, and very little shade. Children walked miles under the burning sun just to fetch water. The land felt lifeless, and the people grew tired, hopeless. But Amina was different. Every day, as she looked at the cracked soil, she whispered to herself, "This land was not always like this. It can live again." One morning, while most villagers stayed indoors escaping the heat, Amina picked up a small shovel, a basket of seeds, and walked to the hills. Her neighbors laughed. "Why waste your time? One tree will make no difference." But Amina simply smiled and replied, "Maybe one tree won't, but 1,000 might." Day after day, Amina planted. When her hands blistered, she kept going. When her body ached, she rested briefly, then continued. She carried water in clay pots from far away, drop by drop, to keep the tiny saplings alive. At first, nothing seemed to change. The ground was still dry. The sun still unforgiving. But slowly, season by season, green began to return. A few years later, the once barren hills shimmered with patches of young trees. Birds returned, singing in branches. Children laughed as they played under the cool shade. Wells filled with more water as the trees held the soil together. Decades passed. Amina grew old, her back bent, her hair silver. But the hills around her were no longer brown and lifeless. They were alive, lush, and filled with life. By the time she could no longer walk with her shovel, the villagers counted over 1,000 trees planted by her hands. She didn't become famous. She didn't become rich. But she became something far greater, the woman who gave her people back the gift of life. Now pause for a moment. Why does this story matter to us today, in our own busy modern lives? Amina's story reminds us of a simple truth. The greatest changes are often planted quietly, patiently, without applause. We live in a world that loves speed. Quick results, instant recognition. But Amina's 1,000 trees were not planted in a day. They were planted with faith that even if she didn't live long enough to sit under their shade, others would. And isn't that what true legacy is? Doing something today that will bless lives tomorrow long after we're gone. Sometimes we hesitate to act because the task feels too big. We say, "I can't change the world." But maybe, just maybe, we don't need to change the world. We just need to change one piece of it. Amina's 1,000 trees began with one seed. One act, one step of faith. So here's the question for us. What seeds are we planting today? Words of encouragement that may one day grow into someone's confidence? Small acts of kindness that ripple into a lifetime of love? Or dreams that we nurture, even if we won't be the ones to harvest them? Because in the end, the shade we rest under today was planted by those before us. And the shade of tomorrow depends on what we choose to plant now. Thank you for listening to this story on HeartTouch Stories. If it moved you, please like, share, and subscribe so more people can be inspired. And always remember, every great forest begins with a single seed, so plant yours. Because one day, the world will thank you for it.